So that's one of the importance of keeping on learning. I hope everyone can still hear me, right? Dara, can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Great. You should keep on learning so that you can adapt to new technologies. Technology is very important. Then there are these two other points. You should keep on learning because obviously, you are growing in age. And anyone who is growing in age, there is something expected of elderly people. Wisdom. You need to be able to pass on something to other people. If you are in the midst of people, either as colleagues or even in your family, and you're talking and nobody learns anything from you, that should be a shame. The quality of what you say or do can reflect on how learned and exposed you are. In fact, you actually owe people value, generally when you are in their lives. If you're dating a woman, if you're dating a man, you owe that person value if you're in their lives. You don't have to be the person that adds zero value or that brings somebody down. You should be that person that when somebody is with you, they have something to take home with and grow. So that is why you should keep on learning in your private life so that you can have value to give to people when you are with them. One other reason, if you want to be a leader, you keep on learning. You're in the office, you've taken up a job as a business development officer. Do you want to grow to become the business development manager? Do you want to grow to become the regional manager for sales? All those fancy, job titles. It is people who have put in the work and the results that can be given the opportunity to lead. But even given the opportunity to lead can even start from how learned you have been and how you begin to implement what you've learned over time, wherever you are. Some other strategies around personal growth, it's very important. These very basic strategies are very important. Attend conferences and workshops. These are basic things. If you're expecting me to give you some very, philosophical notes, no. If you tell yourself that once in a quarter, I'll find a conference or a workshop to attend, why are you attending it? You want to go and learn? Just go and observe, go and network. You're going to grow faster than your peers. So this is one key strategy. And I do that personally. Once in a month or once in a quarter, I make sure that I find an event to attend. A few weeks ago, there was Moonshot by Tech Cabal. It was like the gathering of, the tech guys in Nigeria. You can choose to attend it, not because you want to go and wear the latest fashion to show up, but because you want to go and network. You want to go and see what is the latest technologies, what your mates are doing. That way, you are building personal growth. Another way that you can grow personally is to look at what are the very unique certifications that are around. You want to build career. What are the very unique certifications that are around globally that you can acquire? Tell yourself, in the year 2026, I want to get a PMP certification. Why? I just want to get a PMP certification because it is globally recognized. If you do your research well, you realize that people who have such certifications earn a bit higher than other people. It means they have a better life than other people. You can do your research. I want to get a CBAP certification. If it aligns with your goals, then go get the highest knowledge in that field. It's very important. That is how to build personal growth. Leverage technology. You want to leverage technologies for online courses. There are free courses and paid courses online. If you see webinars, attend to learn. If you see industry reports, try to read. Don't just stay on social media checking out what Ned is doing to Regina or Regina is doing to Ned. Well, that's current affair is good sometimes for you to learn your personal self, but why don't you stay there to see what is the latest technology that you can use to apply to what you do? Apply CRM at work, use analytic tools, learn to use basic tools for anything at all, seek mentorship and peer feedback. Why is mentorship so important? Mentorship is so important because it prevents you from making certain mistakes. And then set SMART goals. Of course, SMART simply means that your goal is specific. You can measure it. It's attainable and it's realistic. It's also time bound. If you say, oh, I want to get a CPAP certification, and you've not told yourself when, you've not told yourself, how do I get there? You've not researched on how much it takes to get such certification. You've not told yourself, okay, every month, this is how much I'm going to put down for it. That's not a goal. That's just a wish. So these basic strategies would work for you if you attend conferences, that is, show up to learn, to network. If you are in a particular field and you seek to get the highest level of knowledge and certification in that field, if you use technology for the basic things that you do, even at work, if you seek mentorship and peer feedback in some of the things that you do, you will actually go far. And of course, setting SMART goals. There's a key thing that is very important for every youth. While you are a teenager, then you go into your 20s, before you climb into your 30s, you need to learn how to play long-term goals or long-term games. If you look at this slide, you see that the black arrow goes from the happy kid or the happy person doing so many things in life to the person who is thinking about how do I do things right. The yellow arrow is going from someone who is thinking about what they are trying to do in life to someone who is happy at the end. You choose what type of game you want to play. The person who is trying to play a long-term game basically start from the top here, someone who is, thinking about what you're doing. Sometimes it's not easy. It's only in Nigeria that I see that young people go to the university, and it's only after they graduate, then they come to think about what to do to make money. So you see that someone goes to school, studies sociology. When they graduate, then they then think about, I'm going to go now to learn tailoring so that I can have livelihood. If you ask me, that's the most foolish thing I've ever seen. And it happens every year in Nigeria. And well, I don't blame some of those youths, because if you're not from a background where you have strong influence on you, you might make these mistakes. I made such a mistake myself, but I turned it around earlier on. I turned it around after my first degree, and I quickly went ahead to do NIM. I went for MBA. I did a lot of studying to just get out of that mess. Because I studied English. I didn't want to be a teacher, all right? But I studied English. So why did I study English at school? Should I tell you? I studied English at school because there was one lawyer that stayed next door to us. I'm supposed to study law. My father asked me to study law. There's a lawyer that stayed next door to us. This lawyer was so poor, and I didn't want to be poor. That's the only reason I went, when I was feeling for jam, I feeling to study English instead of law. Can you imagine? So you realize that when parents or guardians don't have very good influence on their children or works, it can make them to make very big mistakes in life. But you as an individual, when you become an adult, what you need to do is to play long-term games. Now, let me explain something to us. All returns in life, whether it is in wealth, whether it's in relationships, whether it's in career growth or knowledge, they all come from compound interest. What is compound interest? The little drop of seed that you put in every day is compound interest. I'm going to start with the smallest of it all. In relationship, you've started, you have friends. Who are your friends? If you do not see your friends in the picture of the future you're looking for, then you're making a big mistake. Who are you dating or trying to get married to? If you do not see that person in the picture of the future you envision for yourself, you're making a very big mistake. You want to be wealthy. What do wealthy people do? Wealthy people don't spend all their income at once. When they earn, they have a percentage of it that they save. They break all their income into boxes. They are very disciplined. So everybody plays long-term games when there are goals that they want to achieve. When you find the right thing to do or the right people or company to work with, invest deeply. That's one of the ways to play long-term game. What do I mean? And how do you even know the right person or the right place or the right people? It's a tricky question. And one of the ways to know the right thing to do is when you've gone into that setting, let's say it's a job, if that thing is meeting the original intention or goal that you had, and it is not looking like it's going to be detrimental to your future, that is the right thing to do at that moment or during that period. So you tell yourself, oh, I need to get a job because I need to earn income. Now you've gone to get a job and you're earning an income. And you're thinking, should I stay? Should I invest myself in this job or not? What you need to think about is, are these people paying me? If it is yes, the next question to ask yourself is, this job I'm doing, does it in any way detract from my future? For instance, if somebody's into Yahoo Yahoo, you realize that, yeah, you're making the income, right? But it detracts from your future because you can't be proud of what you're doing. And it detracts from your future because if the authorities get to know, you'll be in jail. So you already know, based on those two metrics, that's not the right thing to do. But if you're in a company and maybe you're being paid well, but you also have the opportunity to invest deeply, stay humble, and learn, but the job is tiring. You wake up every day and go to job every day. What you need to tell yourself is, I have a goal. My goal is to work, earn income, and maybe the goal was to work in this company for 3 years. Is there anything on this job that detracts from my future? If the answer is no, stay in it and invest deeply. Someone will notice you in that industry. Someone will promote you because you are investing. So that's how to play long-term games. Now, it's very important to find a position of leverage in any long-term game that you're playing. Whether it's in a relationship, whether it's in a job, whether it's even in your family, whether it is about where you're living, you need to find a position of leverage. Now, let me advise you. Let me tell you a secret. If you live in a country and you want to grow, one of the first things you do is, as an adult, is you get a source of livelihood. Fine. After you get a source of livelihood, you tell yourself, where is the best city in this country that I'm living in? Find a way to move to the best city in that country. Find a way to move to the best city in that country, because you are better off being in a competitive environment that challenges you than being in a place where you're just comfortable. That's how to find a position of leverage. Put yourself in a position where other humans work for you or report to you. What do I mean by this? If you joined a company 3 years ago, why on earth are you not looking at taking the next role interviewing for, even in that same company that you're working for? Why on earth are you not planning that when my boss resigns, I want to interview to stay in the position where my boss was? Why are you not interviewing to be the manager on the role instead of just being an officer? So if you really, really want to be in a position of leverage, you need to put yourself where other women can work for you. It can also mean that you decide to start your own business. So whether you start your own business or you're in a company that you didn't found, but you make sure that you are growing so that you become a leader and you have people reporting to you, that is the kind of thing you should seek for yourself. Don't hide and say, oh, I'm not a leader, I don't have leadership skills. Don't say, I can't talk, I can't speak. Speak up at meetings. Don't be lousy. Just be very strategically showing the basic skills of a leader. Please, you guys can time me if I'm taking a very long time. Get capital to invest or get capital to manage skillfully. What does that mean? You can decide to start a business, or if you're from a rich family, you can invest that money in the market and let it start turning, interest to you or passive income to you, or you can use it to start a business. There is something about leverage another thing about leverage that is so important today, and that is what we call the self-paced and self-dependent skill. It's a leverage where you can write a book and you make money from your book. You can invent something, you can code something. Mark Zuckerberg, who coded Facebook, that is an independent leverage, a self-dependent leverage. He's not working for anybody today because he coded something. So you can generate a media, you start a blog, you can do something that doesn't depend on anything for you to grow. It just depends on you. There's this other very important thing I need to advise us today. It is that in anything you do, find a father. I want us to write that down. In anything you do, find a father. For every aspect of your life, find a father. Who is a father? A father could be a mentor. A father is someone that disciplines you. A father is someone that tells you, this is the kind of thing you should be doing for so reason. A father is someone that looks at you and can see your future from afar. A father is someone that, when you do something wrong, doesn't just tolerate you, disciplines you, and still gives you, the opportunity to stay in his bosom. But he disciplines you. A father does not allow you to just, live your life as you want, because he wants to protect your legacy. And you can find a father in any field. You're trying to grow in your career, find someone that this person, I want this person to be responsible for my career. Any problem I have, any decision I want to take, I take it to this person before I take that decision. Find a father in every aspect of your life. You want to get married, find a father. Find a father. And it can even be your biological father. It can even be your mother. If she is strong and does not allow you to stay in situations where you're useless to yourself, that is the father. Take more accountability and specific knowledge. So in work, skills, family, relationship, your health is also very important. You need money. You need to put yourself in a good city, in a city where you are always on your toes. If I'm leaving Lagos today, I'm living to a city in New York, or I'm living to a city in China. I'm living to cities where life is so competitive. I'm not going to say, I'll go and stay in the village, build a house and stay, and I want to be calm, I want to be happy. Yeah, that could be a wish for old age, but there are certain at this time of my life, I want to stay in a place where Life is very competitive so that I can have an edge. Before I close, I want to tell you how to allow yourself to grow. One of the ways to allow yourself to grow is to value your time at an hourly rate. The first way to do that is know survival skills. So be able to wash your clothes, make your bed when you wake up in the morning. If you're a guy, try to do your push-ups when you wake up. These little disciplines, very easy, very, very important. Know how to do basic things. If you don't know how to cook, you can learn how to do the basic thing that you can eat. Personally, I don't like cooking. I don't like any of that. I pray, but I can survive. How do you value your time at an hourly rate? You outsource menial tasks and spend your time on high-yielding work. Let me explain this to you. This is a Saturday, and I'm here sharing with you guys. I have laundry to do, and if I were living alone, why not, like yourself, why not, if I need to spend time preparing for a certification that if I get that certification, I'm going to earn more income. Why don't I give somebody 1,000 naira to wash my clothes, and I spend that 2 hours I was supposed to use to wash clothes to learn so that I can grow. That's how to value your time. I have seen people say that, oh, they don't want helps in their house. They don't want other people in their houses. And sometimes this thing causes problems between husbands and wives, which is why, of course, people need to date before they get married. They need to know themselves. But you need to make sure that when you are trying to decide what to do, let other people do menial tasks, delegate it, pay them to do it, spend your time doing quality work that can add value to yourself. Never cheat yourself. What do I mean by never cheat yourself? You don't cheat yourself with your resources, that is your time and your money. For anyone, you don't cheat yourself for your wife. I'm sorry, I'm going to say this. You don't cheat yourself for your husband. You don't cheat yourself for your sibling. You don't cheat yourself for your parents. You don't cheat yourself for your friends. The only person you can cheat yourself for are your children, because no matter what happens, your children would always remember the seed that you sowed in their lives and the sacrifices that you made for them. The reason why you don't cheat yourself for any other person is because when the chips are down, anybody will leave you and focus on themselves. Your time and money, if you are earning an income, you don't say, oh, black tax is killing me, brother-in-law, sister-in-law, my cousin and this. You have to break that little income that you earn into boxes, and you spend them in a very disciplined way, exactly how you have designed it. If you are being requested to do more than you have designed it, which would be in your disfavor, please don't do it. Do you know why? Because the day your well runs dry, all those people you were helping will go and look for the next person to feed on. So you can't help the poor if you're one of them. Yes, that's the original quote from Jay-Z, my best rapper. You can't help the poor if you're one of them. So never cheat yourself. The only person you can cheat yourself for are your children. Yeah. Be aware. Be aware simply means no current affairs. I'm not so much on social media. The only reason I'm still on X is because I want to be aware of whatever is happening. So sometimes I just go there because I want to be aware. I know every gossip that's going on in the world, but that's not my focus. So I spend my time doing quality work, but I know because I just want to be aware. You need to be aware of latest tools for your current work that you're doing. You need to be aware of, you need to be curious about life. Happiness is a skill. Did you know that you can learn anything? How to talk to a guy, it's a skill, you can learn it. How to talk to a girl, it's a skill, you can learn it. How to make money, it's a skill, you can learn it. How to be healthy, that is healthy, It's a skill, you can learn it. This morning I was in the gym and I was thinking about my life while I was on the treadmill. And I just told myself, why am I doing this? I'm doing this because of my health. It's a skill, you can learn it. Everything becomes a skill and can be learned. Everything. There is nothing that's not a skill. How to build good relationship with your parents, how to build good relationship with your brothers and sisters. It's a skill, you can learn it. And it even makes you become very diplomatic and a very, very structured person. The last thing around allowing yourself to grow is OQP. OQP stands for only quality people. It can also mean only quality city. When you are working, surround yourself with people successful than you. What does it also mean? If you're currently working in a sector, what you need to do is find yourself to the best company in that sector over time. Grow yourself so that you can find yourself in the best company in that sector. Because let me tell you the truth, if you bring up your CV and you write that you worked at Microsoft, and you also, somebody else wrote that they worked at Tezza, they will first of all pick someone that worked at Microsoft before they pick someone who worked at Tezza. That's simply it. So you want to do quality first. Find a way to get to the best of the best. Find a way to find yourself, make sure that you are with the right persons. If you're if you have friends, make sure that you have friends that can lead you to the best, to the next future of yours. Um, I think these really are the things that I want to share with you. But lastly, I want to share with you how you can classify your hobbies. And it is important that you classify your hobbies into 4 brackets. You need to have social hobbies. Um, Personally, one of my social hobbies is I like to attend conferences. So at least once in a month or once in a quarter, I pick one event to attend. Not for anything. They didn't send me to for it. Nobody said I just want to go and attend to network with people. So if picnicking is something that you like, pick a hobby in picnicking. Organize your friends. Tell yourself once in a month or once in 2 months, let's go picnicking. Organize yourself. You need physical hobbies. Do you like taking a walk? It's very important that you take a walk. Would you like to learn how to swim? Make sure that you find one physical activity that is a hobby that you do regularly, once a week, twice a week. Make sure that you have a physical hobby. Pick an intellectual hobby. For me, I like to listen to podcasts, right? And I like to read. These days, I haven't listened to podcasts more than I read. I'm currently doing Diary of a CEO by Stephen Bartlett. That guy has interviewed who knows, God knows who. So pick an intellectual hobby. You must have one hobby. So it means that once in a week, you must have done one of your intellectual hobby. Once in a week, you must have done, or once in a period, you must have done one of your social hobbies, one of your physical hobbies. Then pick a creative hobby. Is it writing? Is it playing an instrument? Is it dancing? If you can do all of these, guess what? You become a very valuable person and you can grow even at the job that you're looking for. You can be able to decide whether you want to work for yourself and you can be able to find the right thing to do in life. Um, these are the few things that I wanted to share with you about growth and continuous learning. I hope it's been useful to you. I want to thank the mentees that I had during the period. Very amazing ladies, and I wish that they implement some of the things we discussed. I learned a lot from them as well, and I think that they will go far. They will go far. Thank you, TSPC, for this opportunity to mentor with your program. I really appreciate you. Thank you. I think that's it for now.
All right. Thank you very much, Daniel Inyang. That was a very interesting session. You covered a lot. The importance of continuous learning and strategies for personal growth. I think one thing that really stuck for me was playing the long-term game. And of course, you touched on how not only this affects our careers, but overall well-being, overall life aspects of an individual. So yeah, thank you very much for that session. Ayomide, I hope you're getting ready. If you have questions for Daniel, you could just hold on to your questions. We're going to take them after Ayomide's session. So yes, Ayomide, thanks again for being with us. I hope you're ready for us. Before Ayomide comes up stage, I would quickly read his bio. So Ayomide is a result-driven sales professional with over $5 million in new business pipeline delivered across roles. He's an SMB Account Executive at pawaPay, and he manages the full sales cycle for merchants across sub-Saharan Africa and global markets, helping them adopt mobile payments, mobile money payments. Ayomide also trains and mentors SDRs and BDRs on pipeline generation and supports teams in strengthening their sales strategies and mindsets. Thank you very much for being here with us, Ayomide. You have the floor.
Thank you for having me. You've already done my intro. My name is Ayomide, and thank you guys for having me again. I'll keep my session really brief because, like I said, I'm in transit, and I know we've kind of like spent a lot of time already on the call. So, over the past 3 months being on the program, I've had the privilege of mentoring 2 amazing individuals through the mentorship program, and today I'm basically going to share some reflections on the mentorship program, the leadership, and career pathways available in tech sales. First things first, I would like to talk on what I particularly took from the mentorship program. I would say what mentorship has taught me, not necessarily only the program, but across trainings and every other thing I'm doing on my own individual capacity, and also talk on why it's important. Mentorship is very powerful. That's one thing I've learned, and I started sales formally. I started sales in 2011. But I was doing sales before then. I was selling in school while I was in university. I graduated from Covenant University. So all through my 4 years in Covenant, I was selling, right? I was selling accessories, wristwatches, and all that. And to be honest, I was just selling it for the fun of it, and also because I like the idea of just being able to build relationships through selling. But I started sales properly as a BD in 2011. 2012, and along the line, just like Daniel mentioned in one of his presentations, I made several mistakes that I wouldn't have made if I had a mentor. Obviously, at that time I was young. I didn't necessarily even know what mentorship was. I didn't even know that mentorship would have helped me. But having grown as a salesperson individually, I've realized the importance of mentorship, and I also, have come to realize that mentorship is not about having all the answers. It's about helping someone think better, act better, and believe in something way bigger, right? When I started with this program, it didn't come, because I'm a guru or I was a guru, Hello, Cynthia.
Hi, Cynthia. Could you please hold on to your question so that we do not distract the speakers? So immediately Ayomide is done, I will bring you up, and then Cynthia left. But Ayomide, please, you can continue. For anyone else who has questions, please hold on to them. Immediately our speaker is done, definitely you'll have the floor to answer your questions. Thank you.
Okay. So, like I said, I didn't come in as a guru. I came in as someone who, I've walked the journey. I understand how confusing, lonely, and uncertain a sales career can feel. Especially in Africa. That's a very the region where we are is a very big thing. And luckily, thankfully, I've had the opportunity to work across Africa. I've also sold internationally. So I have a very good understanding how sales is in the West and how it is across Africa, and it's quite different and quite difficult. So working with the mentees, it showed me that people do not need perfection. They need presence. sometimes the biggest breakthrough, just happens simply because someone was there to listen to you and guide you, right? So it's not necessarily about perfection and all that. I mean, give example to a startup right now. I don't think there's any particular startup or there's any particular business that starts with perfection. There are mistakes here and there. However, if you have somebody that just helps you, guide you through that journey, someone that understands what it is that you're building or like the journey you are on, you avoid mistakes and you're able to kind of like get get a breakthrough just because there was someone there to guide you, right? And then another thing I've also learned is growth happens when guidance meets consistency. When you have someone who is able to help you build habits that are consistently enabling your growth, you definitely would grow, right? It's like you plant a particular seed, you want it to grow, right? If you're not consistently checking on it, watering it, putting the necessary fertilizer and all that, you can't expect it to grow in any shape or form. But you don't necessarily know what's happening on the ground, but you just know that I have to be consistent in terms of putting the right fertilizer, at the right time, the right moment, putting the right ingredients for the thing to grow. It's very important to have that consistent guidance for you to be able to grow. And then the third thing I would like to talk about in terms of what I was able to learn from mentoring the mentees is that the greatest reward to mentorship is basically watching someone step into a stronger version of themselves, right? It's not I don't think there's anything bigger than that when you so I don't know how I mean, this is a sales gathering, so I'm sure salespeople would understand how it is when you put in a lot of effort and a lot of work into trying to make a sale or trying to close a deal or trying to help somebody achieve something. And when it finally does, there's that joy. It might be a very, very small sale, but just the fact that you were able to see it through and there's success from that person's side, it might not necessarily reflect or affect you or impact you directly, but whatever contribution you've made to actually making that person very successful, it goes a long way. So the greatest reward for mentorship is watching somebody, step into a stronger version of themselves. I am fortunate that one of the mentees that I had through recommendations from myself as well, she was able to land a role as an enterprise outbound SDR at an international organization, and this is something she had never done before. She was doing inbound sales. She was an inbound SDR at ZoomInfo. So obviously, I know everybody knows what inbound is, but for the mentees who may not know, it's when through the websites people reach out to a particular company, and the inbound person is just there to pick it up. Outbound is the opposite, where you go hunting for them, right? And then it's not just outbound, it's enterprise. Enterprise is a whole different ball game. You're not dealing with SMB merchants or mid-market merchants. You're dealing with like big organizations, the type that in some organizations, enterprise is like going after the likes of Meta, going after the likes of PayPal, those kind of people. So she landed a role for the first time ever. She's never been an outbound SDR before. And rather than even getting an SMB outbound or a regular outbound SDR role, she got an enterprise SDR role. So, through mentorship from my side, through recommendations from my side with the company, through different trainings, showing her different frameworks, she was able to land the role, and she's doing super well. She lives in the UK. She's in America now because the company, paid your all expense paid trip to come to America. So those things just make you happy. When you see that the effort you've put into a person has helped them to grow into a stronger version of themselves. So for me, that's what mentorship has taught me. And then why I feel like mentorship is very important. I've already touched on it. And just like Daniel also did, it just helps you to avoid major pitfalls. You won't avoid all, because to be honest, you need to make mistakes to learn fast, which is why there's that saying, fail fast, right? If you avoid all the mistakes, then to be honest, you're not necessarily improving, right? And then we all know that is when you actually feel something, when you make a mistake, and for yourself, you learn quicker than when somebody really shows it to you, right? So tech sales in Africa is usually not, it's really not like anywhere else in the world. You're building a career in a market where limited tools, fewer opportunities, very little structure in terms of training, which is another reason why I do trainings on the side. So that's one major thing that makes mentorship very essential. It shortens the learning curve that many of us had to figure out, the hard way. I know how I had to figure it out, and till this day, I'm still looking for mentors to help me. And I've been I've been in sales for what, 15 years now, or probably even more. But I'm still looking for mentors every day. I still reach out to people who run like venture capital businesses, people like I don't know if you guys know Napa, Napa Owusa. I still follow her closely, just to learn one or two things. I reached out to her recently just to kind of like touch on, basically pick her brain, right? So it's don't ever put yourself in a position where you think that you know it all, because you will never do. Sales is always going to change, right? So just having that mentor around you, it just helps to shorten that learning curve. It helps people avoid mistakes, like I already said, and it also gives younger reps, that's younger sales representatives, a clearer roadmap of what a good sales career looks like, right? Sadly and thankfully, because coming from where I started till maybe like 2021 or something, or probably 2020, we haven't necessarily had people, senior salespeople that younger ones can look up to. Thankfully, thanks for the community. Thanks for Dara. Thanks Dara and Titi for putting the community together. We now have we are now seeing a lot more people who are leaders in sales that we can actually now emulate, we can follow, things like that. But when I started, I remember I was asked the question recently. When I started, tech sales was not, for me, it wasn't in existence. I don't even know if it was there, but it wasn't there. There was nobody to really say I want to look up to, compared to every other field like products, like software engineering and all that. There are people already in that field that people can follow, but we didn't necessarily have that, So, mentorship now, it just basically helps the younger ones to kind of like say, okay, this is, if I go into this field, this is exactly what it looks like when if I focus, I put my mind to it, I focus deeply into it. This is where I could possibly get to, or I can even surpass this particular person, right? A lot of us and a lot of the younger ones run away from sales because the only thing that people, put out there is that sales is hard. Sales is, there's a lot of pressure, there's this, there's that, we don't necessarily have that, well, not now, but as at that time, we didn't have that many people to kind of like show you that no, it's possible to do it. So mentorship is really important because it creates that clarity for younger ones, and also it creates a community of people who will definitely lift each other up, which is what we are doing here. Mentorship creates confidence, clarity, and a sense of belonging. Three things that are very, very important for sales professionals. In sales, when you don't have confidence, you don't have clarity, and you don't feel like you belong there, it becomes very difficult, because sales is you're putting yourself into it. You're not sitting behind this, a camera, or sitting behind email or something and doing the work. You are putting yourself into sales, because when you're having conversations with people, you are going to talk as yourself. You're going to sit down, listen to that person, understand that person, and for you to understand that person, you're obviously using your brain, right? You're not using another person's brain. You're not using a computer or whatever. You use your brain to kind of decipher what they're talking about, put yourself in their shoes, understand their situations, and be able to prefer a solution that would actually fit their world. So if you don't have these three things, it becomes a problem. And, you know, thankfully, mentorship is, you know, putting this together. So for those of us who are mentors, I'm not necessarily excluding us for the whole thing. This is not just for the mentees. It's for those of us who are growing, who are looking behind us to help the younger ones. It's also for us to look to the ones, you know, ahead of us, to be able to pull ourselves up, to be able to keep back to the ones behind us. Which now also comes to the point of leadership, where leadership shouldn't be looked at as a title, right? For me, I think leadership is about service, it's about influence, and a sense of responsibility. It's not just I am a leader, right? To be honest, the first thing as a leader is that you are a servant, right? You are leading a team. You are serving that team. You know, so it's not just the thing of being a title holder as a leader. You're serving that team. You're a servant to the team. You are influencing that team, and, you know, taking on responsibilities for that team. So for those of us who have, you know, thankfully come to a position where we are leaders, we need to have the courage to invest in people, because the leader doesn't just tell people what to do. I believe a leader helps to discover who someone can become, and not just give instructions. You know, great leaders create opportunities and not followers. That's a saying that I've always had in mind for years. You know, a true leader, you know, wants to see their team outgrow them, become their own boss, their own leader, right? It's important that as leaders, we don't just look at it as we don't just look at it as a role where we delegate, but we look at it as a role where we empower people to grow faster. Because I mean, empowerment, it grows people faster than instruction. So, you know, when you empower people, right, when you trust people, you know, obviously, this is, as a leader, you need to train people, right? Coach people, right, and then empower them. You'll be surprised that they will rise to the level, you know, a lot faster than you actually even imagine, you know. So whether you are a sales manager, you're a VP, whatever, you know, leadership starts, you know, from the moment you start to lift people up, where you start to empower people and start to kind of like just put a lot more emphasis on showing people how to get where they need to get to, right? So finally, for the mentees, in terms of career paths, like the usual traditional career pathways in tech sales, we have usually starts off being an SDR, which is a sales development representative or a business development representative. Usually moves on to, in the West, they call it AE, which is account executives. That's just basically business development manager. Then moves on to become like a senior business development manager or a senior sales manager. And then from there to the head of sales or head of business development. And then from there to probably director, depending on the organization, right? And the way they structure their own team. You can either be a director of sales or a VP of sales. And then the VP of sales goes to the highest form of the revenue, which is the CRO, Chief Revenue Officer. Now, the good thing about tech sales right now is what I just mentioned is the traditional linear pathway that, you know, those of us that started earlier on, years back, that's what we understand or that's what we know. But thankfully, we have so many other roles that you can actually go into that, you know, could open you up to other skill sets. We have revenue, operations, customer success, partnership, sales engineering, even products, right? You can become like a go-to-market product person. You know, I think the most important thing in terms of career path is, number one, being very curious. And just like Daniel said, learning, it never stops. It never, you can't be in sales and say you don't want to learn. It's not possible. It's not possible. All right. Every single day till tomorrow, I'm learning something because I'm speaking to different people around the world, different businesses. And as a matter of fact, I can even speak to business A that is in the same industry as business B. But when I speak to business A, their business model is different from business B. But they would call themselves maybe stable coins, infrastructure. And then they start to tell you something that you've never heard before. And your mind is open to a lot of stuff. So learning is absolutely, yeah, thank you. Sales automation specialist, yeah, a ton of things, right? So being very curious, right? Curious in this sense is being open to learning. You know, aside from what you hear from even your mentors, right? Try on your own to not just spend time on social media looking at, you know, I can't remember what Daniel called this, but I think we call it vibes now, right? Spend your time. There is a lot of information on social media in terms of like what you can actually do, who you can actually be tomorrow, what, you know, information gathering. Yeah, there's a lot. So spend your time to do your research, to kind of like understand what it is that you can do, where you can find yourself, things that would match your kind of person, because you also need to remember that this is 2025. Let's say you started off as an SDR. You probably thought that in 3 years you become a business development manager, and then you find out that by year 3 you have evolved. Remember that growth is we all grow, right? You might have grown into somebody by year 3 that is saying, you know what, I don't want to be a BD person. I want to go into customer success, right? But if you don't know, that's one thing. If you don't know something, if you don't know that there's anything like customer success, you might never ever go in that direction. So be very curious minded, right? Find time to ask questions and then just do your research. Another thing I tell people regularly, people I train, my mentees, like every single time, even when I was asked like what would I say has been the key to success for me, and I know a lot of people don't talk about this, is time management. You need to learn how to manage your time a lot. Like, it's very important. I can't stress that thing enough. So I'll give you a very short story. So the mentee I was talking about that landed the job, I remember I told her about this time management thing, and then she started the job. I think it was week 2 or week 3. She came back asking me some questions like, oh, she just realized that she's getting overwhelmed. She has this to do, has this one to do, has that one to do. She now finds it that at the end of the day, she's not able to finish up her tasks, you know, things like that. So I told her, look, you need to give me every single thing you're expected to do, and give me the ones that you just do, not necessarily expect to do. So these are the things you need to start putting things into buckets. What are you expected to do, right? And then what are the things that you just do on the side? And then another thing for salespeople is for example, when they give you targets, usually they don't give you daily targets. They give you maybe, I know some people give like quarterly targets, but most of the time it's annual targets. So what you should do annually is 12 months. If they give you 1 million as your annual targets, divide that by 12, that gives you your monthly targets, right? Then the monthly targets divided by 4, that's 4 weeks in a month. Then you have your weekly targets. Divide that again by 4 days or 5 days in a week. You have your daily targets. So what I told her to do is put everything into buckets. Then now go to your calendar and put time blocks into your calendar. For example, time blocks mean maybe from like 9, when you start off at 9, from 9 to 10, I want to make cold calls, and you stick to that cold call. If they tell you to make 100 calls in a week, you break that into 5. That's 20 calls in a day. So make sure that if you can't make 20 calls at a stretch, you can say by 9 to 10, I'll make 5 calls. Maybe by 11 to 12, I'll make another 5. By another time, just break them into time blocks and stick to that, right? if it's time for sending email, have time blocks in your calendar. So you don't just run around doing things. You just know this is the time I'm supposed to do this, and I do it at that time. This is the time I'm supposed to go to lunch, and I go to lunch at that time. Time management is very effective for sales. For me personally, that has led to a whole lot of success for me. And even after I told her, after she implemented it the first week, came back, right now, I can tell you right now, everybody on her team saw that in her calendar, and everybody now has a time block in their calendar because they initially didn't know what it was. So when they started doing this, it helped her so much, and they started asking how she was doing that. They all have time blocks because she had a conversation with me, so I told them what to do and how to do it. They all have time blocks in their calendar, and they've come back to say it has totally streamlined a lot of things for them in terms of how they're carrying out their activity. But that's something people don't necessarily talk about. So, master your time is very important. I know it's not so easy because you have leaders who probably will just throw meetings in your calendars and all that. But trust me, thankfully we have people like Titi who are, sales leaders right now, people like Dara too, right? Who understand how sales operate. So I'm sure if they see that they have like a subordinate or a salesperson that has time blocks and they're sticking to that time block, no sales leader that understands sales, that understands time block will actually throw a random meeting in your calendar when you know you are busy trying to make revenue for the organization, right? So it's very important for you to master your time. And then what that also does for you is it helps you to prospect consistently. For those who probably don't understand what prospecting means, it's just hunt, do your research for prospects, for leads or opportunities. Obviously you need to talk to your organization, your leaders, customer success team to understand what the right ICP should be, the right kind of business should be, and then you just consistently just keep prospecting, learn your market, and just find ways, like we've already talked about, find ways to just keep learning, keep improving, because your skill is your currency, and to be honest, your habits determine your ceilings, right? Determine your ceiling rather. Your habit determines your ceiling. You can't actually get or have success without this, right? So for me, finally, it's just this has been a very rewarding experience. It's been very eye-opening, and it's just a reminder that when you invest in people, you basically multiply impact across board. So for every one of us, I'll just say, do as much as possible to invest in people, do as much as possible to multiply your impact. Stay hungry, stay relevant, and the sky will just be the starting point for you. Thank you, guys.
Thank you so much, Ayomide Akodu. That was a very interesting and insightful session. I mean, from speaking about mentorship down to leadership, and as well as the career advice that you gave to us. Thank you so much. Great, great. I hope that everyone was able to learn one or two things. And again, thanks again for the recommendation for the mentee that was within your track. That was a very, very strong testimonial. Thank you so much for your contributions, Ayomide. Now we're going to be going to questions and answers. We have a good number of our mentors on the call. I can see Amara, Cornelius is on the call. I can see a number of our mentors on the call. Tahile is on the call. Tahile, thank you for your contributions as well. Michael is on the call. So it's not just our speakers who are also mentees. We have a number of mentors rather. We have a number of other mentors on the call. So if you have questions for our speakers, questions for any other mentor you can see on the call, now is a great time to ask your questions. Just raise your virtual hands and I will bring you up stage to ask your questions. Also, if you have feedback for us about your experience during the mentorship track, what you liked, what you think we can improve on towards the next mentorship track, feel free to definitely raise your virtual hands and ask. So if there are any questions, we'll be glad to take them now. No questions. Okay, Taylor, that's fine. Taylor, that's fine. I can see Ajoke, Chizoba, Comfort. Comfort might not be able to talk. She's indicated that. I can see Cynthia on the call. Felicia, Elizabeth, Glory, Johnson. Yeah, I can see Johnson as well. Oyekachi, Praise. If you have any questions, any feedback throughout your mentorship track, you could raise your hands and then I'll bring you up stage to ask your questions. I think someone had a question before. I think it was Comfort. Comfort, you raised your hands previously during the session. Would you like to ask your question or do you have a question? Hi, Comfort. Are you here with us? Can you hear me? All right, great. So I'll take it that there are no questions. In absence of questions, we have a little bit of announcements to make. So yes, want to really deeply appreciate all of our mentors who took out the time from their very busy schedules to engage and support and guide our mentees. We also want to appreciate our mentees that were consistent, that respected the times of our mentors, that showed up, and of course, utilized everything they've learned throughout this session. So we're going to be handing out certificates. We're going to be sending certificates that proves your participation during this entire mentorship track to our mentors, and then of course to our mentees who were active throughout the session. And then we have a special certificate going up to every mentor that is termed outstanding. So for outstanding mentors, these are people that your mentees really rated you high. They gave high recommendations, spoke really highly about you. We're going to be appreciating you that way as well. So that being said, I would say congratulations to all of the mentees for that attended or participated in TMT 2025. We hope that you've learned a lot, and we hope that with what you've learned, you're able to replicate a lot of improvements, either in your career or in your growth, however it is. I want to believe that everyone on this call is a part of TSPC today. However, if you're not a part of TSP, please join the community using the link in the chat box. You could also follow us on social media. We're on Instagram, Twitter, LinkedIn, and other platforms as well. Thank you all for joining the call, and congratulations to our mentees again. Have a wonderful, wonderful weekend ahead. Bye, everyone.
Bye, guys.